Boom shakalaka. Yesterday's video we were talking about how Bitcoin had very low volatility and there would be a giant price movement. Well, it happened. Bitcoin crashed 7+%. Today's video we're talking about exactly why, plus some very interesting charts you need to see to understand exactly what's going on and where I think Bitcoin is likely headed. Stay tuned. What's up everyone, Randall here from Crypto Love. Today's video we're talking about this massive Bitcoin crash move that happened. We predicted it in yesterday's video saying, hey, this is the quiet before the storm. Well, turns out longs got liquidated in one of the scenarios we were talking about and the price crashed. Does this mean it's the end? Well, you'll definitely want to stay tuned to find out the answer to that one. And because I always like to leave you guys with a happy ending, you really want to stay tuned until the end. Before we get into it, guys, if you could like, subscribe, click the notification bell. Also, come join us over on Twitter at @TheCryptoLove. Every week we give away one of these sweet shirts. Now, we can see here, Bitcoin volatility has increased. It was moving sideways for a very long time. All of a sudden, price starts to crash. A lot of people get liquidated. And me personally, I think this is my theory of what's going to happen until pretty much all the retail longers get liquidated. The market's just going to move sideways, keep getting liquidated until all of the money moves from the dumb money to the smart money category, and then the price will take off. Now, the time frame for this, tough to say. Weeks, months, years, we'll kind of have to see. But let's take a look at what's happening in the short term. So Bitcoin price dropped after the Fed reconfirmed plans to hike rates. The Federal Reserve's December FOMC session reconfirmed plans to get the balance sheet under control. They're saying, hey, we're going to hike rates, and because of that, the price crashed. Now, not only that, but there's also a lot of fear surrounding some virus round 2 that we're not supposed to say on YouTube. That as well, a lot of fear in the markets, and we're going to take a look at how fear in the markets impact the markets. But first, this Fed rate hike. So let's see if this is actually something to be worried about. Here, we have the S&P 500. Now, why that instead of Bitcoin? Just because Bitcoin hasn't been around long enough to show enough data with Fed rate hikes. Now, if we take a look down on the bottom, U.S. interest rates. As we can see here, every yellow line is when the interest rate rose. So we saw it back here in 86, we saw it here in 94, here in 04, and here in 2015. All times before the rates rose. Now, if we take a look at the S&P price, yes, initially a little bit of a drop, but then guess what? It keeps climbing. A little bit of a stalemate there, not even a drop, and then climbing. Here, a little bit of a drop, and then climbing. Here, a little bit of a drop, and climbing. And so we have news about Fed rate hikes, and guess what? Price drop and climbing. But if we take a look at a more reliable metric, the Fear and Greed Index, pretty much dead right now. Everybody is extremely fearful. But what I did was I made a little picture. Okay, I took the Fear and Greed Index down here on the bottom, I took the Bitcoin price chart on the top, and I correlated them. Anytime the Fear and Greed Index is 30 or below, you can see this red line down here on the bottom. Well, basically, I took a red bar on top, and you can see that pretty much anytime the Fear and Greed Index is that low, it is an amazing buying opportunity. You would have bought the bottom here, you would have bought the bottom here, you would likely buy the bottom here, you would have bought this little bottom right here, you would have bought the COVID bottom back here, you would have bought this bottom back here, this bottom here, this one, you would have bought that price drop, you would have bought this bottom here. So basically, this giant bottom back here, you would have bought Bitcoin at every great price if you were just being greedy when others are fearful. Not worrying about the news, not worrying about the price, but noticing that when others are fearful, it's a great buy opportunity. Because if we look at the charts, they don't look good. I'll be honest, they don't look good right now. But that's usually a time when it's good to consider investing. And if we take a look at this, Bitcoin has broken out of this trend it's been in since August, this bullish megaphone, broken out to the bottom of it. And we're looking to find support. Not only that, but we have a head and shoulders potential, which doesn't look too good for Bitcoin. You can see here we had a shoulder, head, shoulder, and then the price came down to exactly what was predicted. Well, looks like we have another left shoulder, head, right shoulder is pretty much as close as it's going to get to the bottom there. Well, potentially this could bring the price all the way down to, based on this, $16,000, which could be very, very bad. And not only that, but if we take a look at this chart right here, you can see we have a top right here. We have another top right here. This is a formation called a double top, which is the inverse of a double bottom. And with these, if it actually passes this confirmation point, which is right down here, this orange line, right around $29,000, if it actually comes down there, which based on this chart right here, it's saying that, hey, it could based on this head and shoulders. Well, if the price actually comes down there, guess what? It would go all the way back down to the launch point, roughly around $10,000. Now it's based on TA. Does TA always stand? I don't know. We'll kind of have to wait and see. But this thought right here was actually echoed by Peter Schiff. Now, granted, he doesn't like Bitcoin. He's kind of a gold bug. But he says if Bitcoin breaks 42,000, it's headed to 30,000. If it breaks 30, it could crash to 15. All this might happen very soon. If you've borrowed money against your Bitcoin, you better sell enough Bitcoin now to repay your debt rather than be liquidated later at much lower prices. Now, he could be very, very right. He could also be very, very wrong because he continues to bet against Bitcoin time after time after time. And that being said, it is interesting that this was posted on January 6th, 2022. He is a very staunch gold bug. Look what else was printed January 6th of 2022. Bitcoin could be the new gold, says Goldman Sachs. Soon they're going to be called Bitcoin Man Sachs, okay? This could be big. The banks are getting involved, and the banks are the smart money I was talking about earlier, who's shaking out all of the retail margin traders so that they can accumulate as much as possible and then sell it back to us at a premium later. Now, this article was posted in the Times on January 6th, and this is very, very interesting. They're saying that Bitcoin could soar to $100,000 within 5 years easily, but it's printed in the Times, which if you guys think hard, you might realize this is somewhat of an auspicious posting because if you remember, the Times is actually the headline printed in the Bitcoin Genesis block. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Look at this. The banks that needed to be bailed out before, which is why Bitcoin was created, like Goldman Sachs, guess what? Now they're saying that Bitcoin is the new gold. So this, I think, is pretty interesting. But for those of you who stuck around till the end, I want to give you a happy ending because I talked about what could potentially happen. The charts don't look good. I'll be honest. Charts don't look good. So, potentially, if the charts win, then yes, we could be heading towards lower prices if TA wins. However, we have something else with Bitcoin that a lot of other financial products don't have. It's called on-chain analytics. So let's take a look at that. Well, first thing here, we have, Bitcoin is history repeating. Look at this. We have this head and shoulder panic zone right when it gets down to that bottom shoulder. Well, this head and shoulder would have had to come back down, but it didn't. We saw a coiling up of the RSI. We see the same thing right here. We're in the panic zone right now. Could Bitcoin be repeating before it actually takes off again? This today is the panic day. Not only that, but look at this illiquid supply shock going up over and over and over. Bitcoin sent straight to cold storage, just like all of these coins. Love me a good old divergence. So as the price is going down, the illiquid supply is going up. There's less and less Bitcoin available until the price pops. And when it pops, it goes up very, very quickly because everybody who wants to buy is competing for less and less Bitcoin. And this chart right here from TechDev, his read of the Bitcoin cycle to date. We do not have an actual top of this market yet. It appears like we just have some local tops of this market based on what's shown here on the RSI. But basically, we had a cycle low back here. We had a local top back in 2019. Price came back down, black swan event, and then we had the coiling up before the impulse wave to another local top around $70,000. Now again, we have the price come down, and we have a little bit of coiling up happening right here before potentially another impulse wave. And if we take a look, we can see the volume changing as well with those impulses, which is to be expected, potentially sending the price higher. So where does that leave us? Well, me personally, I don't really look at things on a short-term view. I am an investor. Anything shorter than a 10-year time frame is just short-sighted. However, that being said, I think Bitcoin is just basically on a sideways trend that we can see right here. It's been going sideways for a long time, for a year now. it's been going sideways. And there are two levels that I think are very, very important. And we are not at either of them. We're in the middle of the two levels. So what that means is just basically sit down, put on your big boy hodl pants, and don't cry just yet. Here's what the two levels are. The first level to keep an eye out for is $53,000. Now, why $53,000? That's because that would give us another high higher than this one here, which could turn into support before the price heads up. So if it breaks $53,000, that would be very bullish for Bitcoin. We could be heading to new all-time highs. However, if it breaks $30,000, well, that could be very bad for Bitcoin because that would confirm this double top pattern right here, which could send Bitcoin down to as low as $10,000, which would be unheard of the first time Bitcoin ever does it, because Bitcoin has never, after breaking a previous all-time high, has never broken back down below that all-time high. But these are the two levels, 30,000 and 53,000. Right now, we're not at either of them. We're pretty much right smack in the middle, $40,000. So that being said, time to relax. Don't worry too much about it. Yes, things could be bad, but you shouldn't be buying Bitcoin with credit or margin anyways. You just buy spot Bitcoin and call it a day, because trying to get rich quick doesn't happen. You can't get rich quick. You can get broke quick, or you can get rich quick and lose it real quick. But the real way to get rich is slowly and smartly, because if you remember the turtle versus the hare, the turtle wins every single time. So guys, that's all for today's episode. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like and subscribe. I will catch you guys later. Have a good one. Love you. Peace.